everyone, my name is Shauna in case you don't know, and welcome back to another video. So before I get further into this video, I need to say that I'll be filming this video over multiple days. This is going to be an insanely long video. I'll be talking about all of my 2022 most anticipated releases. Of course, there's other ones that I probably have on my want to read shelf on Goodreads that are anticipated releases, but if I were to include all of them, I'd have like 1,000 books in this video, so I really tried to narrow it down the best I could to the ones that I am most anticipating. So since I'll be filming this over multiple days, you'll be seeing multiple different outfits, multiple different hairstyles, probably just like messy, not messy, maybe a hat here and there. And let's just do this. So I'm gonna sort of go in order of when the books are releasing. This isn't alcohol, this is an Izzy, just FYI. So I'm sort of going to be going in the order that these are being released. However, some of them say expected to be released in 2022, and so they don't have like a set release date yet they most likely will be published in 2022. Hopefully that makes sense. There's a lot, so let me crack on with this video. So first up is the book called Kiss Her Once for Me, and it is by Alison Cochrane. I know nothing about this book. There is no information about this book. However, it says expected publication 2022, and so I'm hoping that it will come out this year. I'm having trouble getting my words out right now for some reason. I don't know why. This is so frustrating. But Alison Cochrane wrote one of my favorite books of 2021, and that was The Charm Offensive. And I'm very much looking forward to Kiss Her Once for Me by this author because I love the author's style of writing and I love how great her characters are. And I love how like fun and sort of lighthearted but also serious at the same time her stories are. It says that it is lesbian on its tags on Goodreads, so I'm guessing that this will be a romantic, hopefully rom-com, because her first book was sort of a rom-com, but it's gonna be lesbian, and I'm very much looking forward to that. And another one that doesn't have an official release date yet, but it says that it will be published in 2022, is The Grimoire of Grey Fates. So this is one where it seems like there's a bunch of different like fantasy authors that have come together to write an anthology. And one of the authors in this anthology is Hafsa, who wrote the We Hunt the Flame series, which is called The Sands of Arya. I can never say that. But I very much enjoyed We Hunt the Flame, and I'm very curious to see what a short story by her will be like. I think that Hafsa is an amazing writer. She has very creative world building, and I want to just read everything that she's going to publish in the future. And I also think that with her first book, she got really caught up in like making it super duper lyrical with the writing, and I think that if she changes her writing style a little bit so it's a little less lyrical and dense, I feel like her stories will really like fly out there, like become even more awesome. It will find more people who love it, because We Hunt the Flame and We Free the Stars was good, but definitely took some effort to get through it, if that makes any sense. Next up is another one with no official release date, and that is A Tempest of Tea. This is the start of a new series by Hafsa. I'm about to go sledding, so I just bundled up, but let me finish telling you about A Tempest of Tea. A Tempest of Tea was pitched as King Arthur meets Peaky Blinders with vampires. I don't know much about Peaky Blinders, but I've always been intrigued by King Arthur, so I'm very much looking forward to this one, and of course I love vampires. Goodreads says, the novel follows a gang of outcasts in a deadly heist led by Arthie Casimir to save her tea room, which fronts an illegal blood house where local vampires can purchase fresh blood. So that's very exciting. It says that this one is most likely going to be published in fall of 2022. Very much looking forward to that. I think my family just got home, so I think it's time to go sledding. Maybe I'll insert some videos of snow and sledding because it's so much fun, and I want all of you to experience it with me. My next most anticipated release is one that just says expected to be released in 2022, so another one that doesn't have an exact release date, and that is Out There Into the Queer New Yonder, and this is an anthology of queer stories by a bunch of different authors, but I'm particularly interested in this one because first of all, it's a queer anthology. That sounds awesome, and second of all, Kay Ingram, who is an author that I read one of her books in 2021 and I really enjoyed, is writing a story for this one, so I'm very interested in reading Out There Into the Queer New Yonder whenever it comes out. So this section of the video I'm filming on January 3rd, and there is quite a few books that are coming out tomorrow on January 4th. So technically they're still anticipated releases to me because they aren't out yet, but they will probably be out by the time that this video gets uploaded. The first one is one that I need to make sure that I have pre-ordered because I'm not sure if I have this one pre-ordered, and that is Tiger Honor by Yoon-Ha Lee. This is the second book in the Dragon Pearl series. I forget the name of this series, but the first book is Dragon Pearl. I really enjoy Dragon Pearl, so I'm very much looking forward to Tiger Honor. I don't really know that much about it, but I'm very interested in it. This series is about Korean mythology and it's set in space. It's very fun. It's a very fun story with really interesting characters that I highly recommend. And next up is another one by Kay Ingram, and that is Murder of Crows. This one comes out on January 4th as well. I don't really know much about this one, but I am very interested in reading it because Kay Ingram wrote it. And Kay Ingram is also known as Kayla Ingram, but some authors shorten their name, like specifically the first initial of their name for books sometimes, like V.E. Schwab versus Victoria Schwab is like Kay Ingram versus Kayla Ingram. Oh my gosh, my dogs are going a little crazy. Having dogs and filming YouTube videos can be a little challenging. The next one I'm interested in is When You Get the Chance by Emma Lord. This comes out on January 4th as well. This one is classified as a contemporary romance, and it sounds like it is somewhat of an adventure that is going to have a squad in it, so it's probably going to be squad goals. It sounds like a lot of fun. The first line in particular really got me interested in this book, which says, "Nothing will get in the way of Millie Price's dream to become a Broadway star," because I've really gotten into Broadway plays over the past couple of years, so very interested to read anything that has to do with Broadway, even if it's just something like super duper small, like one character dreaming of Broadway. Like, that's enough for me to be interested in the book. And the final one being released on January 4th that I'm very interested in reading is actually my most anticipated release for all of 2022. And that is The Kindred by Alekia Dow. I finally got them to go outside because I wanted peace and quiet when I'm talking about The Kindred. So The Kindred is a science fiction romance that is by Alekia Dow, who wrote The Sound of Stars, which is one of my all-time favorite books. I'm very excited to be reading another book by her. I have this one pre-ordered. I have to finish the book that I'm currently reading, and then I'm planning on hopping right on into The Kindred. Sounds like there's going to be Sound of Stars references in it, and the cover is gorgeous, and I'm just so excited to dive into this new book by her. Another of my most anticipated releases is The Betrayal of Storms by Ben Alderson. Ben Alderson is one of my all-time favorite authors. He wrote the Dragori series, which starts with Cloaked in Shadow, and that is one of my favorite series of all time, so I'm very interested in reading more of his books. I have heard that his recent books are a little more spicy than the Dragori series, but I'm still looking forward to reading it just the same, and it is a queer fantasy. And on January 11th, The Bone Spindle by Leslie Vedder is coming out. So the first little top, like, bolded header to get people interested in the book is what got me interested in the book. It says, "Sleeping Beauty meets Indiana Jones in this thrilling fairy tale retelling for fans of Sorcery of Thorns and All the Stars and Teeth." So I have wanted to read Sorcery of Thorns, and I've wanted to read All the Stars and Teeth, so I'm very interested in that. And I love Sleeping Beauty and Indiana Jones, and this just screams awesomeness. Again, coming out January 11th, this one sounds so amazing. On January 18th, Love and Other Disasters by Anita Kelly is coming out, and the first little bolded part says, "The first openly non-binary contest on America's favorite cooking show falls for their clumsy competitor in this delicious romantic comedy debut that is both fantastically fun and crack your heart wide open vulnerable." So that sounds amazing. Like, do I even need to go on farther about why I'm interested in this book? I may wait to read this one just a little bit because I can't eat solid food currently, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to do that this year, so I'm a little concerned that I'll get sad reading this and reading about all these different cooking stuff while I can't eat any food. But this one sounds super awesome, and the cover is super cute. So those were all of my most anticipated January releases, so now on to February. On February 8th, No Filter and Other Lies comes out. This is an LGBTQ+ romance about someone who is catfishing as a different person. It sounds really interesting. Catfishing sounds like it will be an interesting topic to read about. I have heard a lot about catfishing, but I haven't exactly read any catfishing books, so I'm very interested in reading this one. This one is also another one with a great cover. So when I was going through my Goodreads Want to Read shelf and I marked No Filter and Other Lies, I actually marked it as February 1st, but it looks like the date got changed, and I checked it on Goodreads just now, that's why I said February 8th. So I'm not necessarily doing these in order right now because there's one on February 1st that is still scheduled to come out on February 1st that I'm looking forward to, and that is This Woven Kingdom by Tahereh Mafi. Tahereh is an author that I've very much been wanting to get into her books recently, specifically her Shatter Me series, and I have what's that other book about? I have one of her contemporary books. But this one says, "Clashing empires, forbidden romance, and a long-forgotten queen destined to save her people." It's the first in an epic romantic trilogy inspired by Persian mythology. I'm always interested in things that are inspired by mythology. I haven't read any Persian mythology, but this one sounds very, very interesting, and another beautiful cover. Like, I know they say don't judge a book by its cover, but I really do, and I'm so sorry, and sometimes I get really disappointed when I do this, but it's so pretty, so of course it's high up on my most anticipated releases. The next one comes out on February 8th, and this is one that is going to be super hard hitting, but it's one that I feel is going to be important and it's going to be really good. So this is called You Truly Assumed, and it is by Layla Sabrine. The synopsis says, in this compelling and thought-provoking debut novel, after a terrorist attack rocks the country and anti-Islamic sentiment stirs, 3 Black Muslim girls create a space where they can shatter assumptions and share truths. This sounds like it will be hard, but it also sounds like it will be important and heartwarming, so I'm very much looking forward to reading this one. This one may make me cry, but I feel like it'll be so worth it. Another one coming out on February 8th is Lulu and Milagru's Search for Clarity. This says Booksmart meets Never Have I Ever in this Latinx road trip adventure, a big-hearted, voice-driven YA about 2 sisters who couldn't be more different, but become begrudging partners on their school's cross-country college trip. So first of all, I love Never Have I Ever, in case you don't know, and another thing is, this isn't labeled as romance, and I feel like I haven't read enough contemporary that are just contemporary without the romance in it, so I'm very much looking forward to this one. This one sounds like it will be fun, and it has such a cute cover. I keep saying that, I know, I love so many different book covers, but I'm very much interested in reading this book. Another one that I'm interested in is Delilah Green Doesn't Care. It says a clever and steamy queer romantic comedy about taking chances and accepting love with all its complications. So I've been getting into romantic comedies a little more, I feel like. I don't read them like a ton, I feel like I read more romance than romantic comedies, but I enjoy the ones that I have read so far, so I'm very much looking forward to reading Delilah Green Doesn't Care. And I haven't pre-ordered this one yet, but this is one that's very high on my radar, one that I'm very interested in, and one that I hope to read within the first few months or maybe a year after it comes out. So Sawa Tahir is an author who wrote An Ember in the Ashes, and I am very interested in reading this new book that she wrote. I'm also interested in An Ember in the Ashes. I have the first book in that series. I really need to get into that series, but I feel like it's going to take a big commitment and like sit down and read through it. And I've heard from some people when they like read the first book, then they don't read the second book for like another year or 2. I've heard that they forget the characters. So when I start An Ember in the Ashes, if I enjoy the first book, I feel like it's gonna be like, I gotta read it one after the other before I forget, which will be a big commitment. But anyways, enough about that. Her new book that's coming out on March 1st is All My Rage. This sounds like it is historical fiction and contemporary, so there's 2 different timelines that are going back and forth. It sounds very interesting. And on the cover, it says a gorgeous star-crossed story about the cost of the American dream. And that quote was by Jodi Picoult. Is her last name Picoult? I have never said it out loud before. And I'm very interested in this book. Also, I just realized that All My Rage, the cover has 2 different half circles because for some reason I've been looking at this cover like really small on my phone and I keep thinking it's a baseball cap that's really colorful, but now that I'm looking at the cover closer, it's not a baseball cap at all. Slowly but surely getting closer to the end of my list. We're about over halfway now. I know that this video is really long, but there's so many books that sound really interesting that are coming out in 2022. Next up is another LGBTQ+ book, and this is coming out on March 8th, and this says, And They Live... It is by Stephen Salvatore. This sounds like it will be very hard-hitting because it looks like there's topics of eating disorders and body dysmorphia in there, but it sounds like it is going to be a romance that is going to be worth the read. I am very interested in this one, and I think it'll be hard-hitting, but I think it'll be really good. And then I have one that I've talked about on my channel before, and that is One for All by Lily Lainoff. This is coming out on March 8th. This one is one that I have been interested in from the first second that I've heard of it. There's chronic illness representation in here, its own voices, and it's a gender-bent retelling of Three Musketeers. It sounds phenomenal. I have not read enough books with people with chronic illnesses. I have a chronic illness. I'm always looking for books where I can feel seen with my chronic illness, and so far I haven't really found that many of those. So I'm really hoping that I'll enjoy this one, and I'm hoping that I'll feel seen when I read this one. In case you haven't noticed a theme, most of the books on my most anticipated releases are LGBTQ+ books, just like this next one. This next one is coming out on March 15th. This is called Right Where I Left You. It's by Julian Winters. It is a geeky best friends to lovers romance. I love anything geeky. I mean, I'm geeky. Look, I'm wearing a Harry Potter shirt. It's literally Weasley Wizard Wheezes, their like little logo. And I'm always looking for a new great LGBTQ+ romance, so I'm very much looking forward to this one. I have about 9 books left for this video. Let's see if I can finish it in one sitting. So another one of my most anticipated releases is So This Is Ever After by F.T. Lukens. The little line at the top of the Goodreads synopsis to get people interested, it says, Carry On meets Arthurian legend in this funny, subversive This feels like it should say submersive, but it says subversive. Young adult fantasy about what happens after the chosen one wins the kingdom and has to get married to keep it and to stay alive. So this one sounds really interesting to me. I'm really interested in like King Arthur and that. And it is LGBTQ+, in case you can't tell, in case you don't know anything about the book Carry On. But I'm very much looking forward to this one, and I've been really into like royalty. Like I'm very interested by that, especially because I got into the musical Six within the past couple of years, and that's really gotten me interested in royalty and kings and queens and whatnot. This one is coming out on March 29th, and I am so excited for it. So I'm very much into vampires because of Twilight and because of this book called Human Enough that I really enjoyed. So I'm always looking for a new vampire book to get interested in and to obsess over. And this one sounds awesome. It's called Belmorte. It's by Bella Higgin. It comes out on April 5th, and it is about these houses with these vampires, and they are these celebrities, and humans get paid to go there and be living blood donors. It sounds really interesting, and there's romance in there. I think it's going to be a very fun read. It sounds very different than the other vampire stories that I've read, so I'm very much looking forward to reading this one. And then the Blood Trials, this one has been on my radar for such a long time. I love the cover so much, and it is a fantasy and science fiction where there is deadly trials. I freaking love books where there's trials. Like I like the book Trials of Death from the Circuit of Freaks series. I love Goblet of Fire. I just love trials in different books. And so I'm very much looking forward to the Blood Trials. It's by Annie Davenport. And another thing that sounds really awesome about this is that it says a young black woman must survive deadly trials in a racist and misogynistic society to become an elite warrior. So I think this book is going to be giving massive girl boss vibes, so I'm very much looking forward to that. This one comes out on April 5th. So this next one is inspired by K-dramas, and I don't know if you know this about me, but I actually enjoy K-dramas. I don't watch them as much as I used to, but they're always super fun whenever I do get around to watching them. This one is called The No Family. It's by Grace K. Shim, and this is about a girl whose father is deceased, and she does a DNA test and finds out that she's related to this family, and so she goes off to Seoul, Korea to go and be with her family. It sounds really interesting. I feel like it's going to be like slightly cheesy, but it's going to be like a K-drama cheesy, so it's going to be really good. This one is expected to come out on May 3rd, which is my half birthday. I don't really celebrate half birthdays, I just know that mine's on May 3rd. Another one of my most anticipated releases is Just Your Local Bisexual Disaster. So first of all, this cover and just the title of the book alone got me really interested in this one. This one says, in this voice-driven young adult debut by Andrea Mosqueda, Maggie Gonzalez needs a date to her sister's quinceanera, and fast. So it sounds like there might be a little bit of fake dating possibly in here, and I've actually enjoyed some books with fake dating recently, which is a big surprise to me. But even if there's no fake dating, like, it's definitely going to be a fun and interesting read. This one is coming out on May 24th. Obviously there's bisexual rep in it, as you can tell by the title, and I'm very much looking forward to this one. This one is probably my favorite title out of any book that's coming out in 2022. It just is such a, like, eye-catching title. Is that the right word? Like, it just gets my attention right away. Like, oh, it's gonna be so good. So Sasha Alsberg has a book that's coming out this year, and Sasha is someone who I've been following on social media for a while. I really like her and her story, and she's had some really hard things happening in her life. Throughout the past like several years, she lost her mom when she was a teen, and she lost her dad recently, so life has not been kind to her. But she's still working, she's still having fun, she's hanging out with her dogs, and I'm so excited to read her new book that is coming out on June 14th. It is called Breaking Time, and I've actually been following her and her story of like writing this book. I think this is the book that she was calling Project Red, and I was very interested in it as soon as I heard the code name Project Red, so I'm very much looking forward to reading Breaking Time. I don't know too much about what it's about, but for some reason I'm getting like Outlander vibes when I read this, and it sounds like it's set in Scotland, which is going to be really fun because she loves Scotland. Next up is another book by someone named Sasha. This is Young Blood by Sasha Lawrence. This comes out on July 19th. So this one is like an LGBTQ+ vampire book. So very much looking forward to this one. I feel like I don't even need to describe it more because it sounds so good, and it's going to be a phenomenal read. I'm predicting that this will be a 5-star read for me. And my final 2022 most anticipated release comes out on September 6th, and this is called The Sunbearer Trails. It is by Aiden Thomas. Fun fact, I actually saw Aiden Thomas recently, but I didn't say hi because Aiden was surrounded by a ton of like teens, or maybe they're people my age, and they were like the crazy TikTok generation that I'm like, oh, I don't want to interact with them. I was like, it would be cool to say hi, but I'm just not going to, because these teens were like, yes, we're moots on Twitter, and I was like, oh my gosh, just people popping out of the internet like, I don't like this, you don't have to bring all this terminology to real life, and I was like, oh, this is scary. Anyways, enough about that, but Aiden Thomas is an author who I've been wanting to get into his books for a while. Their books are always LGBTQ+, and this one sounds really phenomenal, and it has such a gorgeous cover, so I'm very much looking forward to reading the Sunbearer Trials. Whoa, that was a long video, but I finally finished filming it. So those were all of my 2022 most anticipated releases. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to me if you haven't already. I upload videos twice a week, so my next video will be uploaded this Friday. I hope to see all of you for that video, and until next time, goodbye!